We all had our favourite TV shows growing up when we were children. Many have gone to the big screen, but only a few stars have shone thus far. One of these was definitely not Thunderbirds the movie.
Okay, bring it on, big guy.
Not to say that the TV show it was based on was bad at all. In fact, it was a really good show. This 1960s classic followed a top-secret organisation called International Rescue. When disaster strikes anywhere in the world, the team leap into action with their famous craft from their secret island in the Atlantic, the Thunderbird. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go! Loved watching reruns of the original Thunderbirds TV series when I was growing up in Dunedin. It was an amazing show, and I still love it to this day, as well as the most recent remake that has started playing in both the United Kingdom and in New Zealand. Now, I want you to imagine this scene. The year is 2003. You're about 5 or 6 years old, and you are in the cinema going to watch the Rugrats Wild Thornberrys crossover movie. As the trailers for upcoming movies starts playing, you see a trailer for a film that at first appears to be merely just another desert island movie. But then all of a sudden, as you see some all too familiar ships coming out of various crevices in the island, you realise that the Thunderbirds are go once again. 1 year later, you go off to the movie theatres with your mother to go see the movie. Back when it first came out in 2004, I loved the movie. I was kind of like Chester A. Bum back when I was a kid. I used to love every movie I ever saw. As I've grown older, I've realised that not every movie is as good as I remember. And sadly, Thunderbirds was one of those movies. It was a huge departure from the original show. Rather than taking a really good direction, like leaning towards both new viewers, but as well as keeping in touch with the classic older viewers who grew up with it during their childhoods, they alienated the old viewers and just completely drove it to the children. If they had done the former, that would have made it an amazing movie. But sadly, this was not so. But are these the thoughts of just some grumpy nostalgic teenager? Or is there actually more good to it than I originally thought? Well, let's dive into Thunderbirds the movie.
Birds are go.
The movie is directed by Jonathan Frakes, whom many will know as William T. Riker from Star Trek The Next Generation. He's also directed many of the Next Generation movies, including my personal favourite, Star Trek First Contact, and the horrible Star Trek Insurrection. He's also written several episodes of the hit crime drama Castle, a show I really recommend you guys watch. It's hilarious, it's dark, it's dramatic, really good show. But back on track anyway. Frakes definitely isn't a bad director or a bad writer. Unfortunately, he has written some bad stuff. And sadly, Thunderbirds is one of those bad things. The first thing we need to look at here are the characters. Now, the main character of this movie is Alan Tracy, played by Brady Corbett. Now, there is a huge difference here from the original show and the movie. That being that rather than having Alan as the pilot of Thunderbird 3, the International Rescue's sole spacefaring starship, he is instead a student, watching from the sidelines, jealously, hoping one day he can join his brothers in the ranks of International Rescue. After he's caught by his father Jeff, played by Bill Paxton, trying to secretly test Thunderbird 1 while the other Tracys are having dinner, he is grounded for the rest of spring break. When Jeff Tracy and most of his sons are trapped aboard Thunderbird 5, Alan is the only member of the Tracy family left who can go over the island, stop the Hood, and save the day. Sadly, we don't get to see the Tracys develop. Well, with the possible exception of Alan. They're so criminally underused in this film that's supposed to be about an entire team taking on natural disasters, saving the world. And yet, with the exception of Alan, all we get of the Tracy family is they're either having fun, telling their brother off, going to the rescue, or they're trapped aboard Thunderbird 5. Yeah, because that totally makes for a great, faithful reconstruction of one of the best TV shows of the 1960s. However, Alan Tracy doesn't work alone in this movie. Alan has the support of two other characters. Tintin, the son of the Tracy family servant Kyrano, played by Vanessa Ann Hudgens. This was her first role before she became big in High School Musical. And then of course there was Fermat, the newly created son of Brains, played by Soren Fulton. And of course, he's the typical geek character who thinks he's not cool, he's not brave enough, and just yawn. You can completely forget him. He's not a very interesting character at all. And here's the other thing. Brains, who was such an awesome character in the original series, he's so criminally underused here as well. I mean, there are a few really funny moments with him. The stutter is spot on. But aside from that, all he does is play the hostage. And that's pathetic. Why would you use a character like that? However, there are some really awesome characters in this movie. Two of them, Lady Penelope, played by Sophia Myles, and Parker, played by Ron Cook. These two characters, in my opinion, were not only the best performed characters, but also stayed the closest to the original source material, which of course is a huge added bonus. Ron Cook as Parker was mainly used as comedy relief. However, even today, even though I think this movie is bad, some of Ron Cook's comedic moments, such as this one.
Apparently England won the football last night.
Actually still had me laughing today. He still has some really good comedic moments. And some, like the one you saw a little earlier, kind of missed the mark. And of course, there's the bad guy, the Hood, played by Ben Kingsley, known for his roles as Gandhi and many other great villain roles. And I need to say, Ben Kingsley kicks butt. I am going to say there were some moments I really wasn't fond of during the original movie. Ben Kingsley was still a really good villain. And one of the things that I do really appreciate about the film, rather than just making his complete "I want to own the world" motivation completely vague, he actually has a motivation for why he keeps going after international rescue. He wants revenge because they didn't save him from his own illegal diamond mining plant. Although I am going to say, his plot to get back at the Thunderbirds, really cliché. I mean, robbing all the banks in the world and framing international rescue for the crime? Sounds like that was taken out of a really cheesy comic book. One thing I also really need to praise the movie for is their great use of the special effects and designs. The vehicles looked amazing, Tracy Island looked amazing, everything just looked incredible. And yeah, all the Thunderbirds had an upgrade. They were all changed. However, the changes were very minor. There was nothing major. They still fulfilled their old roles from the original TV show. Thunderbird 2's was kind of mixed. I was already a fan of the original design, but it wasn't really far off. Thunderbird 2 was still the big green mean machine of the fleet. and still today remains my favourite of the Thunderbird vehicles. And honestly, I think if International Rescue were a real organisation operating today, I think that is honestly what they would look like. Then we come to the story, which is completely criminal. I mean, what the heck were they thinking? This could have been a great potential for a really good movie. The Hood teaming up with all the other enemies of International Rescue, pushing International Rescue to the umpteenth degree in space, under the water, all over the world. That would have made a great movie. But what do they do instead? They create an underdog story, with Alan Tracy having to go to rescue the world while his brothers are trapped on a space station. It's an underdog story that has been done to death. There needs to be a side note here. I'm sure many other reviewers will have picked this up. But honestly, there are way too many endorsements for Ford. Honestly, on the vehicles and the news bulletins, everything says Ford, Ford, brought to you by Ford. It sounds like it was just a stupid secret ad. Come on, guys, there's no need for that in a movie. Honestly, there's no need for that kind of commercial sellout. You're trying to be Thunderbirds, not Can the Hat. Yeesh. Good grief, that movie still makes me quake with fear. As for my final thoughts on this movie, it was a bad movie, but it's nowhere near terrible. It could have been way worse. There are still the special effects that can be praised, as well as one or two or three of the main characters. But this is a stain on a great TV show's legacy, as well as one of the biggest embarrassments for Jonathan Frakes. However, to his credit, it's not as bad as Star Trek Insurrection. This film gets a 4 out of 10. If you're looking for something faithful to the Thunderbirds, my recommendation, just keep watching your old collections of the original show, or if you live in New Zealand or the United Kingdom, check out the remake. It is actually really good, and I really recommend it 100%. Well, that's the end of another movie review. So, until next time, goodbye, haere rā.